information about Aurangzeb's impending attack came, the priest of the temple took the Jyotirlingam and dived into this well. And that is why the mosque built over the Kashi Vishwanath Temple is called the Nyan Vapi Mosque. And because the original Jyotirlingam is believed to be inside the Nyan Vapi well, the well assumed a lot of significance to the Hindus. The plinth of the temple assumed a greater sense of sacredness. Ma Ganga and the Mandir. There is a distance of about 330 meters between the Lalitha Ghat and the Mandir. This is what has been developed as the corridor. Invaders attacked the city, tried to destroy it. History is a witness to Aurangzeb's atrocities and his terror. He tried to change civilization by the sword. He tried to crush culture with his fanaticism. Mark Twain said, "India is the cradle of human civilization, the birthplace of human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of legends, and the great-grandmother of traditions." When he visited Kashi, he is said to have remarked that it is older than history, older than legends, and older even than traditions. And it's twice as old as all of that put together. For many Bharatvashis, it's important to visit Kashi and Rameshwaram at least once in their lifetime. In fact, until a few decades ago, some of the very aged would say that they'd like to spend their last days in Kashi and be allowed to pass on at Kashi. The reason could be that for centuries, Kashi has been synonymous with mukti. So is this some kind of just a myth, make-believe? Or is there a basis or a reality to this? Our Puranas say that the Kashi Vishwanath Temple was consecrated by none other than Adiyogi Shiva himself. There are around 72,000 shrines in Kashi. Some of you might have visited the Chidambaram temple, one of the Panchabhuta Sthalas. You will see that the Vimana, the Chitsabai's Vimana, is covered in gold plates on which the Shiva Panchakshari is inscribed. Number of gold plates is 21,600, and these gold plates are affixed to the Vimana using 72,000 gold nails. Now, what is the significance of these two? 21,600 is the number of breaths a human takes in a day, and 72,000 represents the nadis. So essentially, the power of one breath or prana travels through these 72,000 nadis. Kashi is a predecessor to Chidambaram. There are 72,000 shrines built in the replica of a human energy system and how it works. When you enter the city of Kashi, it essentially means that you are entering a human being, not just any human being, a fully enlightened human being with 72,000 fully consecrated nadis. This makes the whole geographic space of Kashi consecrated, with Kashi Vishwanath as the presiding deity. Look at the subtle significance. Vishwanatha means Lord of the Universe. Irrespective of your religious affiliation, the presence or the absence of it, your system will be energized the moment you enter Kashi. And the very physical space will nudge you towards ultimate liberation or mukti. This is why Kashi has such a significance to the Hindus. If you cannot live in Kashi, you must at least visit it once, and preferably, if you're lucky enough, pass away at Kashi. Legend has it that Sati, wife of Lord Shiva, was cremated at the Manikarnika Ghat. The fire lit for her pyre continues to burn till date, burning millions of devotees who want to achieve mukti after their deaths. Kashi is an ideal place for the spiritual seeker. It's a veritable treasure trove of knowledge. It had one of the most ancient universities in the world. Students from across the globe studied for centuries. Given its ancientness, it was also the place of art, craft, religion, philosophy, devotion, cuisine. The Banaras silk is of world renown. The origins of so many fantastic things. The presiding deity, goddess of Kashi, is Annapurni, and aptly named because the city has been feeding millions for centuries. In Kashi, there's always an Annadan. You're never going to be in want of food. This kind of beauty, wonder, wealth, richness across all segments attracted millions of people to Kashi. for centuries. It also attracted the barbaric Islamic invaders. The first of such attack happened in the year 1194. Muhammad Ghori and his army commander Qutbuddin Aibak killed the Raja of Kannauj, Raja Jaichand. Actually, the severed head of Raja Jaichand was presented to Ghori and Qutbuddin Aibak on a platter. The story of Raja Jaichand is something that every Bharatvashi must know. It has a great significance. But that's for another day. Today, coming back to our Kashi, once Ghori kills the Raja of Kannauj, his eyes are set on Varanasi. Why? Varanasi was like a financial epicenter, vibrant with all kinds of trade activities. So they come down, raze the city to the ground, plunder, loot, completely destroy temples. The amount of loot and plunder that they took back from the city was so enormous that they required 1,400 camels to carry the exploits. A Gujarati merchant decided to rebuild the Kashi Vishwanath Temple. It is said that he chose the complex of Avimukteshwara Temple to undertake the rebuilding because Razia Sultana built her mosque on the space where the temple was destroyed. This entire rebuilding was very short-lived because in the 1400s, early 1400s, the Sharik of Jaunpur destroyed the temple. And then again in the later, if you look at the later part of 1400, the barbaric clan of Sikandar Lodi visits Kashi, again to destroy as many temples as possible. In 1585, Raghunath Pandit, who we also call Todar Mal, rebuilt Kashi Vishwanath at the original site. Veer Singh Dio is said to have assisted in further enhancement and completion of this temple, only for Kashi Vishwanath Temple to be attacked again. The third and most brutal attack happens in the year 1669. On April 18, 1669, the barbaric ruler Aurangzeb issues an order for the temple to be completely destroyed. And 4 months later, on the 2nd of September, the same year, he receives a confirmation message stating that his wish has been carried out. Now, Aurangzeb was so insidious that he did not just want the temple destroyed because he saw that it kept getting rebuilt, but he wanted to raze it to the ground and he wanted to build a mosque on top of it so that the temple may never come back to life. And that's what his order states. So as per his order, the Garbhagraham and the entire temple was destroyed. And on top of that, a mosque was built. The remains of the erstwhile temple can still be seen in the foundation and columns in the rear part of the mosque. The temple complex has a well, which is called the Jnana Vapi or the Wisdom Well. If you've been to the temple, you would see this somewhere in the north of the site. It is believed that when information about Aurangzeb's impending attack came, the priest of the temple took the Jyotirlingam and dived into this well. And that is why the mosque built over the Kashi Vishwanath Temple is called the Jnana Vapi Mosque. And because the original Jyotirlingam is believed to be inside the Jnana Vapi well, the well assumed a lot of significance to the Hindus. The plinth of the temple assumed a greater sense of sacredness. In the year 1824, British traveller Reginald Heber makes a note of the same, that the plinth area of the temple has assumed far greater significance to the Hindus because the original Jyotirlingam remains in the well. After Kashi witnessed its last Islamic vandalism of repute at the hands of Aurangzeb, Rani Ahilyabai Holkar, a Maratha queen, chose to rebuild it in the late 1700s. Her father-in-law, the Maratha king Malhar Rao Holkar, in the year 1742, wanted to rebuild the temple at its original site, reclaiming the mosque land. However, the invaders settled in Awadh prevented this from happening. In 1750, the Maharaja of Jaipur also wanted to do a similar undertaking, and he conducted a survey of the land, but this also did not materialize. Eventually in 1777, Maharani Ahilyabai undertakes rebuilding of the temple, though not at its original site but adjacent to it. Kashi held significance across the length and breadth of Bharat. We see it till today, and it did back then as well. In the early part of 1800s, a number of notable ancient kingdoms came together, and many of them set about doing improvements and additions to the temple, surrounding areas, the ghats, improving facilities. So in about, I think in 1828, Bazia Bai, widow of Daulat Rao Scindia, undertook building of a colonnade with about 40 pillars in the Nyanvapi precinct. Between 1830 and 1840, more development work was undertaken. Ghats were built. More of other temples were also renovated, and the various kingdoms of Bharat contributed generously to the running and upkeep of the temple. In 1835, Maharaja Ranjit Singh of Punjab donated 1,000 kilograms of gold to cover the dome of the temple. Raghuji Bhosle donated silver to the temple. In the 1860s, the Rana of Nepal donated a 7-foot tall Nandi to the temple. After that, Kashi went into the hands of East India Company, and the once thriving, continuously inhabited city turned into a gutter. Gandhi makes a mention of this pathetic, ghastly state of a once glorious and thriving city in his Experiments of Truth. I went to Kashi temple for darshan. I was deeply pained by what I saw. The approach was through a narrow and slippery lane. The swarming flies and noise made by the shopkeepers and pilgrims were perfectly insufferable. Where one expected an atmosphere of meditation and communion, it was conspicuous by its absence. But Kashi remained like this for another 100 years. On March 8, 2019, our Prime Minister laid the foundation for the Kashi Vishwanath Corridor Project. If, like me, you have seen the Kashi Vishwanath Temple before the project, you know the kind of chaos that prevailed. And so, in many ways, this is a dream come true for us. The Kashi Vishwanath Temple Corridor Project aims to provide access between Ma Ganga and the Mandir. It also aims to decrowd and decongest the space around the temple complex. The Prime Minister's dream project, his vision to build a grand corridor connecting the Ganges with the temple and expanding the temple complex, took about 33 months to reach completion. A little over 2.5 years since the laying of the foundation stone, on 13th December 2021, Prime Minister inaugurated phase 1 of the project. In his inaugural speech of this 800 crore Kashi project, he said that this will be a bridge between the past and the future. Invaders attacked the city, tried to destroy it. History is a witness to Aurangzeb's atrocities and his terror. He tried to change civilization by the sword. He tried to crush culture with his fanaticism. But the soil of our country is different from the rest of the world. Here, if an Aurangzeb comes, a Shivaji Maharaj also rises to show them the power of our unity. The ceremony saw the near full attendance of various chief ministers and deputy chief ministers of state. Also, simultaneously, puja was held in the other 11 Jyotirlingam sthalams. Firstly, it's meant to provide access, like in ancient times, between Ma Ganga and the Mandir. There is a distance of about 330 meters between the Lalitha Ghat and the Mandir. This is what has been developed as the corridor. The second significant aspect of this project is the expansion of the temple complex. The temple area, which had shrunk to 3,000 square foot over years, is now 5 lakh square foot. This expanded area and the corridor will provide access over 50 to 75,000 devotees. This will ease use for senior citizens and Divyangs as well. Phase 1 comprises a total of 23 buildings. The District Magistrate Agarwal states that roughly 22,000 devotees visit the temple every day, and this could go up to a few lakhs. So the upgrade around the temple complex is mainly keeping in mind the number of people that visit the temple and the need to enhance public amenities and make it a more user-friendly space. On either side of the central courtyard, which we call the Mandir Chowk, are basic set of public amenities like clean drinking water, clean public toilets. About 170 of them have been created. How did this come about and what transpired in those intervening 2 years between the foundation and the inauguration. 41 temples to be precise, waiting to be discovered. They were suffocating under subsequent constructions. Many of you would have even seen the videos of some of these being cleared by the earth movers. The 41 such centuries-old temples that were rediscovered have also been renovated as a part of this project. The second interesting thing is the trading of land with the Nyanvapi Mosque. The Nyanvapi Mosque, which lies on the original temple and abuts the present temple, it made it a very tricky endeavor when the temple courtyard had to be expanded. The mosque gave 1,000 square foot of land and in turn was allotted 1,000 square foot of land at a little distance further away. This trade happened smoothly, and it's very noteworthy because at this juncture, both the mosque and the temple administration are engaged in a legal battle. This is a significant development considering that recently a Varanasi court, petitioners representing the Kashi Vishwanath Temple are seeking that the mosque built by Aurangzeb be declared as having been built on Hindu land. The court has also ordered the formation of a 5-member committee, of which they would preferably like 2 members to be from the Muslim community, to identify mosque exists on land which was originally a Hindu temple. Third interesting aspect is the other land acquisitions that happened. Bimal Patel, who was the chief architect of this project, mentions that around 300 buildings had to be raised to make way for this project. Out of the 800 crore that was earmarked for this project, 450 crores was spent exclusively on land rehabilitation. Out of the 800 crores earmarked for this project, 450 crores was spent exclusively on purchase of land and rehabilitation. Commissioner Agarwal mentions that this was not like a typical land acquisition activity, but was very unique, and deals were conducted individually one-on-one with each of the owners and stakeholders in the project. So for more than a year, officials of the administration sat down with shopkeepers, owners, tenants, encroachers, some of them without the requisite land documents, and negotiated a mutually agreeable price one-on-one. Commissioner remarks that they were able to amicably settle 1,400 people through this process without any serious major litigation or liability. Everyone was given a one-time rehabilitation grant. Phase 2 of the project moves to the other end, the river side, where a massive jetty is envisioned and 82 steps leading up to the corridor are planned. There are also plans to have escalators and ramps for ease of access. Now, if this happens, this gets completed, then like in olden times, devotees can take a dip in Ma Ganga and then bring water from there as an offering to Kashi Vishwanath. It is our wish and desire that the Nyanvapi Mosque and the land it stands on be returned to the Hindus. A form of mutual understanding, as it happened in the case of the Somnath Mandir, or through a fair legal means as it happened in the Ram Janmabhoomi. The vagaries of time have taken a toll. Sadhguru says, even though Kashi is very ancient, it's a very aesthetically built city. When Athens was not even thought about, Kashi existed. When the idea of Rome did not even exist in the minds of people, Kashi existed. When the phenomenon of Egypt did not even exist, Kashi existed. That is how ancient Kashi is.